The Trans Am Championship on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Three Dimensional Services Group. Prototype production proven. By Pirelli. Power is nothing without control. And by AEM. Engineered to outperform.
Welcome to Daytona and the final round of the 2019 Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli. It's been an amazing year of muscle car racing with big grids and ultra-competitive racing across the Trans Am classes. We start, though, with TA2. This low-cost, high-performance class is the fastest-growing in road racing and is attracting a huge field of drivers this year, 65 in all. And that's all down to the level playing field Trans Am has developed to make this class about skills and not spend. The season started at Sebring, and it was 2018 champion Rafa Matos who staked his claim on the 2019 prize, but with 2018 Sebring winner Mark Miller not far behind. Here we go then, rolling start for a brand new season. Matos leads them away, but under big pressure already from Bufamonte as they dive into the first corner. Bufamonte starts well as we go on board with him, and you can see how close it is. Bufamonte just getting beaten also for second place. Mark Miller up there. What a great frenetic start. Miller just holding off Bufamonte. Bufamonte coming back at him at turn 3. A really frenetic start, but it's Matos who leads this race. Good start also from Dylan McAvern in the Ford Mustang. And through goes McAvern in the Liquid Moly sponsored car on Bufamonte, who now drops to 4th place here in this opening salvo. Matos then built that lead as the laps went through. Mark Miller would keep him honest in the Dodge Challenger, last year's winner. Ford Prefix celebrating their 40th year. Good battle also here for 4th place. On the inside is Scott Lagacy Jr. Round the outside goes Bufamonte, but Scott Lagacy Jr. has got the better line as they dive into the next right hand, and sure enough, Lagacy Jr. overtakes Bufamonte into 4th place. Nicely done. Into the hairpin, it was Matos, Miller, Lagacy, very close indeed. Peterson just behind, and Bufamonte still in their wheel tracks. But then a massive incident for Kurt Voigt in the Ford Mustang. With just a couple of laps to go, a massive shunt as he hits the tyre walls, smashing the car up and bringing out a full course yellow. In fact, the race would finish under yellow. Deja vu from last year. Miller thought he might have another chance at it, but in the end, this time it was Rafa's revenge, redemption for the man from Florida, originally from Brazil, and the champion, Rafa Matos, wins at Sebring. Confirmation of the result then, Rafa Matos with the win, Mark Miller in 2nd place, Lagacy Jr. in 3rd, then Doug Peterson wins the Masters with 4th ahead of Tony Bufamonte in 5th. After Sebring, the series moved north to Road Atlanta, and once again, it was Matos and Miller battling for the win.
Anytime you can end up on the podium leaving a racetrack, after round 2 at Road Atlanta, we had another 2nd place finish behind Rafa Matos. I felt happy that we were on the podium, but we knew we still had work to do. Road Atlanta for our Dodge Challenger was always tough in the downhill S's, and I felt like we made a lot of good improvements from 2018 to 2019, but we still had some work to do, and heading into round 3, we made those improvements.
Let's take a look at the highlights now of Laguna Seca.
Across the strip they go. And a good start by the leaders, already spreading out down towards the vital turn 1. And it is Mark Miller who leads the way in the Dodge Challenger. On board with Dylan McAvern, who looks as though he's going to try and get into 3rd place early on, and does so.
And a yellow flag out early, and that's 92 Scott Lagacy Jr. being towed away as we head back now to the restart.
And this is all playing into the hands of Merrill as he works his way through into the top 10 after that restart, and now already knocking on the door now of 3rd place. Brilliant stuff by Merrill, and it is now Miller, McAvern, and Merrill is up to 3rd place. A fantastic recovery, and now another brilliant overtake into 2nd place now at the top of the corkscrew. Worth another look here. McAvern in 2nd place, and on the inside comes Thomas Merrill. Brilliantly done. A superb textbook overtake at the corkscrew. Merrill up to 2nd place now, coming all the way from the back, and now challenging Mark Miller for the lead. Miller stuck in traffic. This could be a chance, and it is. The 81 going through at the last corner, just squeezing through Thomas Merrill brilliantly into the lead, using the lap traffic there. Here's another angle from the car behind. Onto the dirt he goes, risking everything, and squeezes his way through. And sure enough, Mark Miller has to take avoiding action. He goes wide, but Merrill takes the lead. And once in the lead, he never looked back. The Ford Mustang of Thomas Merrill marching on to victory ahead of the Ford Mustang of Dylan McIvern and the Dodge Challenger of Mark Miller. That's how they would finish. A brilliant win for Thomas Merrill. Confirmation of the result then, Thomas Merrill with the victory, Dylan McIvern in second place, Mark Miller third, Ethan Wilson in fourth place, Elias Anderson fifth, and Keith Prochuk in sixth place. On then to round 4.
Lime Rock was kind of an eye-opener on the things that we've left on the table. It's such a small bull ring, and there's such a momentum track. And a lot of those corners don't really favor the Dodge so much, and we need those long straightaways to capitalize on the sleek, no-drag body. We've made a long list after Lime Rock, made some improvements over the course of the weekend, but felt very fortunate to leave there with a fourth-place finish, which was our worst finish of the year.
Round 5 saw a hop, skip and a jump across the big lakes to Detroit to the doubleheader on the streets of Belle Isle. Always a challenge and a very important weekend. Rolling start, away they go. A great start from Tony Bufamonte in the 34, and it's Bufamonte who leads Misha Goikenberg. Miller didn't get a great start as we go back to fourth. The battle between Matos, as we look back from him, and Tony Arve on the bumpy Detroit street circuit on board with McIvern as he goes past Misha Goikenberg to second place. Look at this three-way battle now. On board with Goikenberg. He's got Miller on his outside of touch, and Miller goes round. Oh, Miller goes out, the championship leader. Now Matos, so that's Goikenberg getting in trouble and spinning it. Matos has followed him through, and Matos has also gone out. So Goikenberg unsighted Matos. Matos took the wrong line and into the wall he went. That brings out the safety car. And that looks as though Goikenberg, and yes, Matos is out of the Motor City Dash. Good restart by Bufamonte, who's flying here at Detroit as he always does. And Bufamonte under pressure from Dylan McIvern now. And out goes the leader! Bufamonte spins it. A very unusual mistake from Tony Bufamonte. Very rare he does that. In the BC Racing team, as Arbe now looking for the lead and spins his teammate and takes the lead. Oh, that's going to be a long, long conversation, I'm sure. But Arbe leads. On board with Tommy Sheehan, who misses his braking point and hits the wall heavily. And that's surely going to bring out a full course yellow, and it does. And that means that Tony Arve is going to march on to victory under safety and his 100th Trans Am race. Arve the winner then. Dylan McIvern in second. Tony Bufamonte recovers to third. Misha Goikenberg also recovers to fourth. Scott Lagasse Jr. fifth. And Stephen Lustig in sixth.
I feel like Detroit Grand Prix is always a curse for me.
Oh no! Miller hits the wall and takes another car with him. Not what the Berryman team wanted from Belle Isle at all.
Going into 2018 and 2019, I was like, this is going to be great. I love the circuit. I love driving these cars. I've got a lot more experience now, but it just never seemed to go our way.
Well, let's see if Mark Miller's luck changes. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli. Now, after 6 races, the TA2 Championship was tight at the top, and after a poor 13th place finish for Mark Miller at his home race in Detroit, Dylan McIvern and Rafa Matos were snapping at his heels. And from Detroit, we headed to the famous Brickyard and Indianapolis. And this time, Mark Miller led the field and crossed the strip. At the rolling start, he got away brilliantly and began pulling away from second place Scott Lagasse Jr. in the number 92 Chevrolet Camaro. Dylan McIvern and Tony Bufamonte, both in Ford Mustangs, were in pursuit, as was Rafa Matos in his Chevrolet Camaro. Sadly, both Matos and Lagasse would have mechanical issues and would drop out, leaving Miller to pound round the Brickyard at will. That moved McIvern and Tony Bufamonte into contention for the overall podium, but by now Miller was extending his lead to over 10 seconds from the chasing pack and was increasing that gap with every lap. Lawless Allen in the number 52 Auto Park-It Ford Mustang was having one of his best races of the season, having a great battle with Doug Peterson in his Mustang, finally getting by and then going in pursuit of the leaders. After almost an hour of hot, fast and grueling racing, the cars, tyres and drivers were beginning to feel the fatigue of one of the toughest races of the season so far. Several cars retired in the heat of the day, and then with just 6 laps remaining, Keith Procher in the number 9 HB Tuners Chevrolet Camaro was hit by Kurt Voigt's Ford Mustang and was sent into the gravel trap. The safety car came out for 2 laps, and that meant the field were bunched up again behind Miller, who'd lost his built-up advantage. The restart was electric as the whole field jostled for position. Dylan McIvern tried to get the better of his teammate and go for the lead. Mark Miller, though, held his nerve and braked as late as he dared for the remaining 2 laps to hold off the young charging teammate. It was a brilliant win for the Prefix Stevens Miller Racing team, a win that extends Miller's lead in the overall championship. Dylan McIvern takes second place in the Liqui Moly Mustang, and Tony Bufamonte in the Mike Cope Racing Mustang was third. Miller's form was hot. Another win at Mid-Ohio, and Miller's championship lead moved to 61 points, going into the next round at Road America.
We went into Road America, which is an amazing track, thinking that our Dodge Challenger was going to be the car to beat. And I fought hard to watch Rafa pull away from us there. I was a little disappointed, obviously, but it just made us work harder going into the next round. I looked at it as a challenge, and we went into Watkins Glen ready to take on that challenge.
8 rounds done, and across the lakes again, this time to another iconic circuit, Watkins Glen. Mark Miller in the Prefix Dodge Challenger. As we go on board at the start, Rafa Matos on the inside with the advantage, but Miller coming alongside and nearly getting through into the right-hander. Couldn't quite pull it off, and even contact there as Miller trying as hard as he dared. And that's Dylan McIvern in trouble in the Camaro, and the 77 spins out of third, but is back on track. Rafa Matos continued to lead at the front onto the main straight, being chased hard by Miller and Merrill in third place. But Merrill's place was soon to be under pressure and overtaken by the new man, Tyler Casera in the Ford Mustang, coming alongside and taking him on the next right-hander. Meanwhile, Miller under pressure from Ty Gibbs, who finally gets past but then goes wide. Great battle between these two. Gibbs recovers in the number 26. Rafa Matos looking in his mirrors to see what's going on behind. And their battle for second place continued. Miller again using that power on the straights to get alongside Ty Gibbs. Gibbs defends. They come into the right-hander. And a touch, and they both go round. Both were able to recover, but drop right down the order. Miller finally finishing 9th. Matos now under pressure from Lagasse Jr. in the closing stages. Matos, though, holding him off to take back-to-back wins at Watkins Glen and close the gap on Mark Miller in the 2019 championship. So with 9 rounds gone, Mark Miller's championship lead was 264, but Rafa Matos had closed the gap, 223 now. Scott Lagasse Jr. still in the hunt on 191, as was Dylan McIvern. So, after that finish, Mark Miller has opened the door, and the championship is wide open again. We'll take a short break, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, before the break, we looked at Mark Miller's season as it was starting to slip away from him. Next up, though, the Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli headed to Virginia International Raceway, one of the most incredible races of the year. Let's take a look back now at the highlights. A wonderful shot at the start from the horseshoe here at VIR as Rafa Matos leads them through. And a good start by Miller as Merrill loses out to Mark Miller. Miller, as you can see in the Challenger, goes into second place. Merrill dropping to third. And already, Rafa Matos going through the gearbox and starting to make a move from the front. Matos pulling away, and it's Matos, Miller, and Merrill. As Luis Philippe Montour crashes out at turn one, a fire in his car. That brought out the full caution. And they towed him away, getting the grass out of the grill, and away we go with Matos, Miller, and Lagasse Jr. Now the top three at the restart. Back with Miller, as Miller goes wide and gets in trouble. Mark Miller, the championship leader, risking everything there and dropping back a few places, having hit the grass. Rafa Matos, though, with problems. Something's wrong. Matos has got a mechanical. Matos is out. And now it was Merrill, Lagasse Jr. and Mark Miller back up to third place. Lagasse Jr. on Merrill, under pressure, and through goes Scott Lagasse Jr. Meanwhile, Mark Miller watching it from third place. Merrill on the attack again on Lagasse Jr. On the touch! Off goes Lagasse Jr. And that was a big off. Here we see it from Lagasse Jr. Oh, and he flips into the air and smashes onto the ground. That's a nasty hit. And Mark Miller, there's his view. You can see, watch to the right. Oh, up in the air. And that is a scary moment for Lagasse Jr. A big off. That brought out another safety car. Luckily, those brilliant chassis in the Trans Am cars keeping Scott Lagasse safe. But Thomas Merrill, under safety, wins the race. Mark Miller takes second place. That helps his championship. And Dylan McAvern will get important points for his championship in third.
So after VIR, obviously leaving VIR was bittersweet for me. I saw a friend and competitor upside down. It was a very exciting race. It made us think about COTA and how important a solid race at COTA was.
And from America's most classic circuit to its newest, the Circuit of the Americas at round 11. Up the 133 feet of turn one, Scott Lagasse from fourth, getting a brilliant start and challenging for the lead. Going into the first corner, Misha Goikerberg going wide, Miller just hanging on in there and would start to build on that lead. Side-by-side action between Misha Goikerberg in second and Lagasse Jr. in the 92, just coming round in before three and going into second place. By lap 6, Mark Miller had built a 6-second lead, but number 23, Kurt Voigt in the Ford Mustang brought out a full course yellow when he crashed out, and that meant Miller would have to do it all again, and once again, Lagasse was on the charge up the hill. Getting past Miller, but only for a few laps. Just took that because Miller kept with it, and at the same turn one juncture, back went Miller into the lead, and he would never relinquish it. Lagasse would keep him honest for the rest of the race, but this was a race all about Mark Miller. Prefix celebrating their 40th anniversary, hence the number 40 on the car, and it was the perfect day in the sun of Texas for Mark Miller. As he extended his lead, Misha Goikerberg and Dylan McAvern continued to battle for the podium with Lagasse in second place. McAvern getting the better of Goikerberg up to turn 10. But then, in the stadium section, Goikerberg coming back at McAvern, and they touched. McAvern going round, and Goikerberg also getting damage and slowing him right down. But that allowed Edward Savagian, the Texas native, into third place, but Miller crosses the line to take his fourth win and the championship at the Circuit of the Americas. Miller then wins from Scott Lagasse Jr., Edward Savagian in third place, and Lawless Allen taking fourth.
To win Daytona, you have to have the fastest car. You can't luck into it. We qualified second. I think we have a fourth place car right now, but I think if anyone can get this car from fourth to first, It's going to be Stevens Miller Racing and me. And we're going to make that car as good as we can make it. So if it works out, what I just said here is going to be awesome. If it didn't, we just had some bad luck.
Leading them away this time was the youngster, the number 92, Sam Mayer, in the Chevrolet Camaro on the front row with Mark Miller. Great start as we go on board with Rafa Matos from Merrill at the inside of both men as they go wide. And that's Thomas Merrill into the lead. Excellently done. Matos slotting into second place. Tony Buffalmonte in the hunt at the 34 as we go on board with Thomas Merrill in the Ford Mustang. Trying to extend that lead early on. And it was Merrill, Matos, and then Buffalmonte in the number 34, and Mayer dropping back to fourth place early on. Superb start from Merrill as he led across the banking, and the battle was now on for third place between Merrill, Matos, and Buffalmonte as we go on board with Tony Buffalmonte, and into the right-hander. He gets tagged and turned around by Sam Mayer. No fault of Buffalmonte as we see it again. Mayer just missing his braking point. Buffalmonte turns in, and that's all it took to turn him round. Back to the battle for third place, and Mark Miller holding off Mayer for now. No damage done in that incident with Buffalmonte back on the banking, and Mark Miller on Matos now. High and wide on the banking. Matos can do nothing about it, and Miller, as he said, has got that powerful car, and the Challenger was doing just that. Past Matos he goes, but Matos under braking. Brilliant as always, the Brazilian, and that's how you do it at Daytona. Great to and fro between these two, as it's been all season. Matos getting the better of Miller in the corners, but this battle would go on. Matos holding off Mayer and Mark Miller. They were side by side. Sam Mayer just getting ahead of Miller this time. But there was more drama to come. Matos still holding off Mayer for now. Tony Buffalmonte high on the banking on the Australian Ashley Jarvis in the Camaro. Nice pass from Buffalmonte. But Mayer getting a drive-through penalty. And that would put paid to his hopes of challenging for the overall win, having started from pole position. A full course yellow, that would bunch up the field again, and Mark Miller also with problems. 2 flat tyres this time, and he too would be in the pits like Mayer. Big problems for Rafa Matos. Flames coming out of his car as the Mike Cope man quickly made an exit. And that was his day done. Matos out in flames. Back to the restart, and once again, Thomas Merrill would push on from the start. Buffalmonte still in the hunt, but then the spin for the number 23, Kurt Voigt. And don't think it was all his fault. I think he got a clip here, and he does. Another car just clipping him on the way by. That sent him round and into the famous walls here at Daytona. Voigt out in the number 23. The race would be finished under safety as Merrill took the procession of cars across the line to take the win ahead of Tony Buffalmonte in second place, Dylan McIntyre third, and Lawless Allen fourth place, Misha Goikerberg in fifth.
Big thanks goes out to Big Deal Racing and Mike Cope Race Cars for coming together to make a race-winning program. It was race-winning from the start. My job was to bring it home across the line first, which I'm very pleased to say that we did.
It's been a brilliant year, and the championship seems to be going from strength to strength. Can't wait to see what happens this time next year when we head to 2020. Now, coming up, we bring you the SGT, GT, and TA season battles. So, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more from Trans Am, presented by Pirelli.
The Trans Am Championship on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Pirelli. Power is nothing without control. By AEM, engineered to outperform. And by Three Dimensional Services Group. Prototype, production, proven.
Welcome back to the Daytona International Speedway. Now, in 2019, Trans Am updated the names of TA3 and TA4 classes to GT and Super GT to emphasize that Trans Am still maintains its roots from where a wide and diverse range of production-based classes are all welcome to race. In the GT class at Sebring, Stephen Davison started the season with a second place in his distinctive Aston Martin, but first place finishes at Lime Rock, Indianapolis, Watkins Glen and VIR ensured that he raced to victory in the 2019 GT class overall. In SGT at the end of 2018 at Daytona, Mark Bowden was only just pipped to the post in the championship by Ginetta driver Aline Cipriani of Brazil, who started the 2019 season with more determined form than ever. Mark Bowden took a second place at Sebring and Road Atlanta to get his season off to a solid start. But it was Lime Rock where Bowden made a bid for the SGT title with a superb first place finish. This was followed by an epic battle at Indianapolis, which ended in a third step up the podium for Bowden. But Mark was back to winning ways at Mid-Ohio with a dominant victory over his rivals. As the championship moved on to Road America, teammate Tim Kesman stole the limelight at Road America in his Audi R8, both settling for fourth place. But that still left him with first place overall with a commanding 44-point lead. On next to VIR, a second place finish once again for Bowden. And the same was true at COTA before the final at Daytona, where he lost out last time to Aline Cipriani. Not this time, he was in the mood. And so too was the Porsche 4-line team as he dominated the weekend. Plenty to battle with, but Bowden was on great form. As he hit the high banks of Daytona, he marched on to the SGT Championship for 2019. Confirmation of the results then, Lee Saunders with the win over Mark Bowden in second, Tom Herb third, Matteo Lorena in fourth place and Tim Kesman in fifth.
Yeah, I always love coming to Daytona. It's a great track, it's so much fun, so much history. Last year I was a little upset with how the final lap went down. Missed out on the championship by 1 point, and this year took it by storm.
The Trans Am Series, presented by Pirelli, travels across America, primarily on an East Coast-based championship. In 2017, Trans Am launched the Trans Am West Coast Championship. In 2019, the 6-round series began at Thunder Hill in April, moved to the Auto Club Speedway, Laguna Seca, Sonoma, and Portland International Raceway, before finishing up at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas in October. In TA, we saw newcomers to the series in the 850 horsepower beast, including Michelle Nagai, and it was 2012 Trans Am champion Simon Gregg who was able to best the longtime Trans Am great Greg Pickett to win the TA West Coast Championship. In the TA2 class, Anthony Honeywell and Brad McAllister battled all season long. Only 2 points separated them as they arrived in the final round after a hard-fought series of battles. It was Brad McAllister who was able to win out the year. And in the West Coast GT Championship, number 98, Roger Eagleton, and number 7, Bo Borders battled back and forth in their Ford Mustangs all season long. But it was Eagleton who was eventually victorious at COTA, with Borders just 3 points behind in second place for the overall finish. Now you can be sure they'll be back next year to do it all again. You can get involved as well. Go to gotransam.com/competitors to find out more. Now, coming up after the break, we turn our attention to the national TA class. Don't go away. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, where I turn our attention now to the TA class. 850 brake horsepower, epic battles, muscle car heaven for those that love their racing. Ernie Francis Jr. arrived at round 1 in Sebring, keen to defend his TA title. 20 drivers chomping at the bit to stop him having it all his own way. It was never going to be easy for the young Floridian, but the good news was he started on home turf in Florida at Sebring. Here we go then, rolling start and a cracking start as well as the field spreads out. And it was Vincent Allegretta from the 3rd row who gets his Corvette into the lead. On board with 6th place, Chris Dyson in the Ford Mustang. But Allegretta's hopes were short-lived. After 2 laps, he was back in the pits, and that gifted the lead to Loshak. But the pressure wasn't over, because Loshak had in his mirrors the champion, Ernie Francis Jr., racing at home as they went off on a pursuit. And Ernie Francis Jr. was left in the pits with a cooling line issue, which put him 12 laps down and out. And that put the pressure back on Lawrence Loshak as Chris Dyson tried to reel him in. Loshak nervous of the pace of the plaid-sponsored Chris Dyson. Lawrence Loshak with victory then in TA.
Sebring round 1 could have gone a lot better for us. Really was hoping for a better result at one of our home tracks, but couldn't get it done. Had a transmission oil line failure that took us out of the race.
Better luck next time as we move from Sebring now to Road Atlanta at round 2. Rolling start then here at Road Atlanta, still very damp and slippery out there. Good start from Loshak. Dreesy's right there with him, side by side, and Dyson struggling up the hill in 4th position in the Mustang. 2nd place, Ernie Francis Jr. after disaster in Sebring would have more problems, this time a tail light, and he would have to pit, having started so brightly in 2nd place. His day over, and he would have to go right to the back. Chris Dyson, though, was the next major problem, breaking its rear axle, and that meant no drive for Chris Dyson. Loshak wins.
Road Atlanta was a bit frustrating for us. You know, I thought we had a tremendous car there. I mean, it's a very exciting race with about 4 laps to go, and then unfortunately we were coming down the back straight, and I started to hear a noise from the back, and we had a problem with the drivetrain. We was able to coast into the pits, but the lead that we'd established was enough that we were still able to finish 4th.
After Road Atlanta, the series headed west to round 3 at Laguna Seca, California.
Away they go for the rolling start. On board with Chris Dyson in the Ford Mustang. 3rd place at the moment. Ernie Francis Jr. doesn't get away well from the pole, and it's Lawrence Loshak who leads him into the 1st corner, but Francis all over the back of it. Here comes Francis Jr. though. End of the 1st lap, and Francis Jr. is through on Loshak. Chris Dyson now. He now comes up the inside of Loshak. Loshak can do nothing about it. He'll come back at him though, again, down the main straight. It's Dyson on the outside, Loshak on the inside. Dyson closes the door as they head towards the 1st corner. Brilliant stuff by Chris Dyson, and he does shut the door quite firmly. And sadly, even though he got the fastest lap, Dyson is out. Water pump belt, it sounds like, on the radio. But no stopping this man. Uncork the bottles, because through the corkscrew comes Ernie Francis Jr.
Going to Laguna Seca was an awesome time for us. A really fun trip having to go from Florida all the way across the country to Laguna Seca. Got to see a lot of sights along the way, and the race was pretty awesome for us also. Qualified on pole, led the race from start to finish, and took home our 1st win of the season.
Happy days, and from the West Coast, then it was to the east and Lime Rock. Chris Dyson leads them away, and already Josh Hurley's got the better of Ernie Francis Jr. as they go into Big Bend for the 1st time. Ernie Francis Jr., 5th in the championships, got to get a good result here in Connecticut. But it's Dyson who leads the way, and over the hill he goes, and enjoying every minute of racing at home here. At the front though, Chris Dyson in control of this race, and what a dramatic week it's been. Had to get clearance from medical after a massive shunt in the dirt in Indiana, but A-OK now racing here at Lime Rock and pulling away from this battle for 2nd between Josh Hurley. Dyson, as you can see, looking in the mirror almost every other moment he gets. And this is a great chance for Francis Jr., and here he comes, the 98. Nicely done, weaving his way, threading the needle, and up to 2nd place. Take the checkered flag here at Lime Rock. Congratulations to the local hero, Chris Dyson.
Yeah, so Lime Rock was just a complete thrill. You know, had been hospitalized for an accident that I'd had out in Indianapolis, and there were some question marks, I think, for myself, of how I was going to hold up through the weekend. You know, thankfully that the car was brilliant from the get-go, and that was a great way to make the pain go away. And you know, with it being my home race, it always elevates me, and I knew I was going to have a lot of friends and family there, so it was time to perform. And we were fortunate to have a superb race out there, trouble-free, flag to flag. It was just a dream weekend.
So Dyson on a high, but there's still plenty more to come from the 2019 series. Join us after this. Welcome back to the Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli as we look back at the 2019 TA Series. Now, as they headed to Indianapolis, this is how it stood. Chris Dyson on 104 points, just 4 ahead of Loshak. Ernie Francis Jr., last year's champion, on 96, just 2 ahead of Tommy Treacy. Let's head down now to Indianapolis for all the action. The race was dominated by an intense battle for the lead, with Dyson leading, then Francis leading as they roared around the famous Brickyard for the first few laps. Then, with only a few laps of the 42 completed, a full course yellow came out just as Francis Jr. had taken the lead again. That bunched them all back together again, and at the restart, the battle was on again between Dyson and Francis, but this time it was Dyson who got the better of Francis and began to pull away at the front. Francis held on to take second despite having a misfire and was able to still clock the fastest lap at 1:22.166. At the front, Dyson was cruising to a 23-second lead at the end of the 42-lap race, with Francis Jr. in second and Adam Andretti having a last lap drama as he began running out of fuel, managing to just cross the yard of bricks.
Indianapolis is one of the great facilities in the world and so much history there, but that was also a great race for us to put ourselves back into championship contention.
After Indy, it was a quick hop across the state line to Mid-Ohio and round 7. And a good start from Dyson, but Francis squeezes through under braking and takes the lead here at Mid-Ohio. Dyson slots into second place. Peterson looks as though he's managed to hold on to third as we go on board with Ernie Francis Jr. And while he's looking in his mirrors, he's in control of this race here at Mid-Ohio. But here comes Dyson on Francis, round the outside at turn 1. Can't quite pull it off. What great racing, now down towards the keyhole.
Yeah, Oh, no! And a caution comes out. Oh, a big hit. Larry Funk hits the barrier by the looks of things. That's a nasty incident. It's going to be a checkered flag caution finish, and Ernie Francis Jr. is going to win at Mid-Ohio.
Ernie back to winning ways, and then for the next round, it was staying in the north, and this time, round 8 in Road America.
Great start from Chris Dyson. Flies into the lead. Ernie Francis Jr. in second place. Oh no! Just as I say that, Dyson gets into trouble at 5. He spun it round. If Dyson doesn't recover well, Francis Jr. could be leading the championship after Road America. And down towards 5 comes Pintari. Meanwhile, Dyson in trouble again! Oh no! Dyson at 5, the same place he spun before, and now he's really wrecked it. There's the checkered flag, and Ernie Francis Jr. wins at Road America.
And from one iconic circuit to another, from Road America, we headed to round 9 at Watkins Glen.
Chris Dyson, second in the championship, who had led earlier on in the year, was in third. On his return to the championship, Tommy Dreesy was in good form in third place. The yellow flag came out. That slowed things down a bit. Chris Dyson, although he was in pursuit of Ernie Francis Jr., now had to worry in his mirrors that Tommy Dreesy. Ernie Francis Jr. once again built on his lead.
After Mid-Ohio, Road America, and Watkins Glen, we were really on a season high. We won 3 races in a row. It was a really awesome time for us. The car was working well, and the team was working well.
When it's like that for the number 98, it's pretty hard for the rest to catch up. Let's see if they do after this.
The Trans Am Championship on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by AEM, engineered to outperform, by Pirelli, power is nothing without control, and by 3-Dimensional Services Group, prototype, production, proven.
Welcome back to the Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli. Now in the TA class, it's been tight at the top all season long, but after 3 wins in a row, Ernie Francis Jr. has pulled out a 16-point lead on second place Chris Dyson. At VIR and COTA, Ernie managed to extend that gap, and he arrives at the final round at Daytona with a 21-point cushion over Chris Dyson, but it's far from over yet.
We've got nothing to lose, and my hope is today that we can just go out and end the season on a strong note at the very least. And, you know, mathematically it's still possible, even if it's remote, that I can overtake Ernie.
So from Texas to the final round at Daytona, it's been a brilliant season for TA, and it certainly wasn't over at the start. Chris Dyson, right where he needed to be, leading the race from Ernie Francis Jr. with Tommy Dreese in third place, being pushed hard by Adam Andretti. Talking of pushing hard, Ernie Francis Jr. was giving the number 20 plaid car absolutely no room. As they dived into turn 3, he was almost alongside Dyson, who just about held on. Ernie in the early stages trying to see if he can put an end to the championship fight early. In third place now, Tommy Dreese. Andretti just behind him, but it was Dyson who held on to the lead. Here's Adam Andretti going past Amy Ruman. Ruman still looking for third in the championship, but a good run here at Daytona by Adam Andretti. Out front, Chris Dyson was building on that lead, but not really getting away from Ernie Francis Jr. by more than a couple of car lengths with every lap. The concentration was there to see. Remember, he only had a mathematical chance to win, and as you can see, Ernie Francis Jr. soon closed the gap again. Meanwhile, Adam Andretti now battling with Tommy Dreese around the banks. This the battle for third place. And Dreese on good form again, now back in the car. This battle will continue throughout the race. And try as he might, Dreese just couldn't get on terms with Adam Andretti today. Meanwhile, Ernie Francis Jr. was doing everything he could. The yellow flags came out. That would slow things down again. And Dyson would have to build again, but build he did. And what has been a 17-year gap, Dyson finally wins again at Daytona. But despite another win, it wouldn't be enough to hold off Ernie Francis Jr. and another championship.
I'm jubilant. I mean, this is just fantastic. It's been a long time since I've won at Daytona. I think the last time I was standing here was November 2002, 17 years ago. And here we are again with Trans Am winning at Daytona. I mean, it's hard to put into words, to be honest. You know, to have a season where we won at Lime Rock, Indy, and Daytona, I'm happy with that, even though we came up a little short in the championship race.
And this is how it finished. Ernie Francis Jr. in the Ford Mustang with 316 points, 301 to Chris Dyson. A good effort. Amy Ruman does take third with 232 ahead of Kerry Hitt. Tommy Dreese just behind him. Let's hear from the 2019 champion.
Feeling really awesome out here. Took home our 6th Trans Am championship. Couldn't be happier with that. Not the result we wanted in the race. Finishing second. Had a blown tire on the last lap, actually. So just limped across the start-finish line. But took home the championship. That's all that matters.
For Green Light Television and our entire crew, I'm Jonathan Green, and this has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports.